Hey, after this, we'll go eat Arby's. Steve, where are we? 33. You may be ahead, but we are on 33. Exodus chapter number 33. He's been out of the state. He's got jet lag, or did you drive or did you fly? Drove? Okay, so you got driving lag. All right, Exodus chapter number 33. What happened in the last chapter? What happened in Exodus 32? I know it's been a week, and boy, has it been a week. Oh, yeah, the one that just, was it graven, or did it just poof out of the fire? Depends on who you ask, right? If you ask God, it was crafted. But if you ask Aaron, well, it just, the fire just made it. I mean, how does that happen? Hey, I will say this, the Bible has some things that things come out of a fire that, honestly, I've never seen them come out of a fire like a viper come out and latched on old Paul's hand, and that's some wild stuff there. But so essentially, and what we talked about last time was, as we look at that, and it wasn't so much to say that we are worshiping, and I've heard that, well, now they are worshiping Baal. I don't agree with that. Because when you read that chapter, it is just a representation, a tangible representation of God. I just think, but really, in all reality, it is them wanting to worship something that would be okay with their immorality. And because they know God is holy, God is pure, and God is not okay with it. And He's so not okay with it that He says, Moses, He said, I'm going to plague the people. And He does. And honestly, 3,000 lives were lost. People that did not repent. People that decided, I don't. And could you imagine that they were told to go around and slay their brother? That's tough. That's tough. But here's the thing. God is serious. When He says to worship Him because He is holy and He is worthy, He means that. Now, here's my question to you. As we get into Exodus chapter number 33, are we okay with not having the presence of God, just the presence from God? Because that is a question that, and here's how you'll know if you're okay with it. What's your prayer life look like? And not so much what does your prayer life look like, because you could pray a lot, but it just be asking God for stuff. And I think that there is a part of prayer that we do ask God for stuff, supplications. I believe that we should ask God for things. I think that we should. But is it we're asking God to be with us? Probably not as much as what we ought to. Absolutely, yeah. And so as we look at Exodus chapter 33, I want you to see what happens, because this is amazing. God says, I'm gonna do what I said I was gonna do, but I'm not gonna go with you all. That's tough. That's tough. It's like I told you, I'm going to stick with my promise that I give Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. I'm going to stick with the promise of I'm going to put you in that land. I'm going to fight your battles for you. I'm going to do all these things, but here's the thing, I'm not going. And now, is God saying that He's really not going? No, because we know that God can never leave us nor forsake us, right? But God says, I'm going to actually let an angel, lowercase a, I'm going to let an angel take you and lead you into the promised land. I'm not going to be a part of it, Moses. And here's why, because you guys are a stiff-necked people. You're an unrepentant people. Look at verse number 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, depart and go up hence, go up there to the promised land, thou and the people which thou hast. See how God's doing it again. He's saying, you brought them out. Okay, so here's what I want you to remember, Moses. They look at it as you did this. And I'm going to allow that to be said. We all know who did it. Moses knows who did it. And he says, and thou and the people which thou hast brought up out of the land of Egypt unto the land which I swear unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, to thy seed will I give it. I am going to stick with the promise. I'm not gonna change my way on the promise. When God makes a promise, He does not go back on it. He don't. Now, as you look at this, here's the thing. Moses, in his intercessory prayer, is like, don't forget about those guys. You remember making that promise to those guys? Did that spark a memory in God's mind, and God was like, oh yeah, I can't lie? And no, of course not. God knew all along. It was, Moses, do you know my word? Do you know the promises that I've made to your great ancestors? Do you know my word? And Moses is repeating his word, God's word, back to him. That promise was made by you. And he says in verse 2, and I will send an angel, lowercase a, before thee. He's not only in verse 1 is he saying, I'm sticking with my promise, but secondly, he said, I'm sending you with protection. I'm sending you with protection. And he, look at what it says, and I will drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite. So not only is he saying, I'm sticking with my promise, I'm sending you with protection, but I'm still going to protect you. I'm still going to fight your battles for you. Isn't that amazing? They're not deserving. They're not. But God's not going to go back on His word just because they went back on their word. Just when we're unfaithful, here's the thing. This is why I believe wholly in eternal security. Because God is not going to go back on His just love, mercy, grace, long-sufferingness, just who He is, because we mess up. His promises still stand true. He says, you're not staying saved because of who you are. You're staying saved because of who I am. And I have you. And no man can pluck you out of my hand. I heard a guy say one time, he said, nobody else can pull me out of God's hand but me. How in the world can you you're still a man too. You could try your very best to pull yourself out of God's hand. You are not stronger than God. We can't do that. It's our names are sealed in the Lamb's Book of Life. Good luck trying to blot yourself out. Right? Only God could do that, and God ain't going to do that. He says in verse number 3, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up in the midst of thee, for thou art a stiff-necked people, lest I consume thee in the way. What is that? That's tough. God says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you up to the land flowing with milk and honey, but I'm not going with you. I'm not going to be in the midst of this. Why? Because you are going to drive me nuts. I'm just going to kill y'all. That's essentially what he's saying. He said, you all are seriously driving me nuts. He said, I'll just consume every one of you. I'll start back over with Moses. Now, I will not be a part of this. Now, why is God saying all this? To see what they're going to do. And here's the thing. I've heard people say that God doesn't test us. God does test our faith. Sure He does. And the trying of your faith worketh patience. So our test now, sometimes Satan can be tested in our faith. But I believe wholeheartedly that God's doing it. He's doing it right here. He said, now, how do I know that? Well, because the Bible tells me that God will never leave me nor forsake thee. And God's saying right here, He's saying, look, I'm just not going to go up there with you all, but I will send a representative, just an angel, doesn't give him a name, and that's important because of what Moses says here in just a minute to his prayer to God. He said, but I'm not going to go with you all because, man, the more I'm around them people, the more I'm just like, I'm just going to melt them down. I mean, it's ridiculous. Look at what all I've done for them. You know what I mean? I mean, they were enslaved for how many years? 400 and what years? 430 years enslaved. And they mourn, cry, weep, oh, get us out of here. God says, okay, I'll get you out. I'm going to take a guy that you all haven't seen in a long time, and I'm going to send him back, and I'm going to use him to lead you all out. And then they go. They believe God. And they go. And then they're like, they get to the Red Sea, and they're like, really? That's it? You just brought us out here to kill us? And then God splits the Red Sea. Go across. They get across. Egypt's coming behind them because they're like, hey, change of heart. We need them people to build our cities. And he puts the Red Sea back on them and swallows up the Egyptian army. Listen, I don't know about you. And then they start singing. I don't know about you, but I've never in all of my life seen a sea split. That point right there is total reliance on God. That is when you are backed in a corner, what are you going to do? And God makes this path. I mean, He literally parted the waters and they watched it take place. And they walked across on dry ground. That's probably got more moisture on it than that mud or that dirt did. And they walked straight across. Who knows how long it took them? Because there's probably 2 million people. That'd have been a long time. But they go across, and then the enemy's defeated. They sing, they're giving praises to God. Next thing you know, Moses is gone a little while. Moses, we don't know what's become of him. I mean, it's been 40 days, man. What's he done? I mean, he was the guy that we were following. They started putting Moses up, I believe honestly, putting Moses up on a little pedestal and saying he was our guy. Aaron, make us gods that we can worship them. Okay, it's going to cost you. Give me the earrings out of your ear. Give me the bracelets. Give me the gold, and I'll make it. And he does. And they start worshiping this thing. Not only do they start worshiping this thing, then they start worshiping like pagan people. Sexual immorality. And God says, Moses, you better get down there. And then Moses comes down, breaks the 10 Commandments because he gets furious with them. And now God's plagued the people. 3,000 have been killed. And now God says, you know what? Everything that I've already promised, I'm going to stick with it, but I'm not going with you guys. I'm done with this. I am fed up. I don't deserve it. He don't deserve it. Verse 4. And when the people heard these evil tidings, now evil tidings would be like bad news. We've received some bad news. In the Bible, you see good tidings. That's good news. This is not good news. What do? They mourned. What a right response. What a right response. So we still got the promise. We still got the land. We're going to get the land. We're not going to have to fight the battles. And we still have somebody that's going to lead Moses, and then in turn, Moses is going to lead us up to the promised land. Everything's still taken care of. But one big problem. God's not going to be involved in it. Can I be honest with you? I think a lot of us would be okay with it. Well, we still got everything else, guys. I mean, we still got the blessings from yesteryear. You say, how do you know that? How do you know that a lot of us will be okay with it? Look at your prayer life. Look at your prayer life. How much of it is, God, I want you. I don't want stuff. I don't want gifts. I want you. That's the important thing. And they said, hey, Moses, we're not okay with that. That's good. Listen, that's a good spot to be in. And they mourned. And no man did put on him his ornaments. Nobody got dressed up. Nobody was putting makeup on or putting earrings in or any of that stuff. Literally, it's almost like they were in a state of mourning. It was, we're not going to get all gussied up, and we're not going to, I'm not going to fix my hair. I'm just in a state of mourning. No man did put on his ornaments, for the Lord had said unto Moses, Say unto the children of Israel, Ye are a stiff-necked people. I will come up into the midst of thee in a moment and consume thee. Therefore now put off the ornaments from thee, that I may know what to do unto thee. And the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by the Mount Horeb, or Mount Sinai, whatever you want to call it. And Moses took the tabernacle and pitched it with the camp afar off from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of the congregation. And it came to pass that everyone which sought the Lord went out unto the tabernacle of the congregation, which was without the camp. So we've gotten the instructions for the tabernacle to be built. This is not that tabernacle. This is just a makeshift tent that Moses is going out, and it's literally almost, it would remind me of a prayer closet. It's like Moses has built himself literally a sanctuary to go and to talk to the Lord. And all the people are watching Moses to see what Moses is going to do. Why? Because Moses is the leader. Moses is the authority. Moses is the one that's been going and talking to God on their behalf. And they're in a state of mourning. They're like, here's the thing. If Moses and God can't figure it out, we don't have God. That's not a good situation. Yeah, we'll have, the land and the promise and all that stuff, but we don't have His presence. What good is it? Right? That would be like, I heard this story. This pastor said, when I was like 6 years old, he said, we had our cousin that would watch us, and he said we just loved her. He said she was so good to us. He said we just loved her. And he said one day, me and my siblings thought it was going to be a good idea. We're going to tell Mom that we don't want her to be our mom anymore. We want our babysitter to be our mom. He said I was like 6 years old, and he said my mom comes in and he goes, Mom, he said we've been talking about it, and we want her to be our mom. And he said, my mom was a single mom. And he said, she goes, okay, if that's what you want. And he said, she goes in her bedroom and packs a little bag and gets her stuff. And she gets in the car and she leaves. And he was like, it worked. He said, I couldn't believe it. He said, it was that easy. It worked. And he said, we all go back in the house, and our babysitter's like, okay, so here's the deal. I'm your mom now. I'm not your babysitter anymore. Some things got to change. So now we're going to start with spankings. And he goes, wait a second. We want our mom back. And he said it seemed like forever had went by. And he said she just drove around the block and come pulling back into the driveway. And he said we were outside crying and hugging her and everything else. He said that's what's going on in this chapter. It really is. That's what's going on in this chapter. They want God. They traded God. They traded Him off, and they said, this be the God that led us out of Israel, this physical representation. And it says right there, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Now, that has always been written on man's heart. It didn't start on a stone. It started on a heart of stone. It didn't start on a stone. It started on a heart of stone. That has always been. Always been. That's why whenever Adam and Eve ate the fruit, they were ashamed because they had made themselves God. Eve definitely looked at the tree and seen that it was good for food. And she was like, yeah, He'd make us like gods. Yeah, that's a good thing. I want some of that. And Adam just took of it willfully. So what did they do? They made themselves gods. They took of the fruit. Rest is history. And now Moses is out at this tabernacle. It says there in verse number 8, and it came to pass when Moses went out unto the tabernacle that all the people rose up. Now you could probably cut the tension with a knife. What's he going to go and do? I wonder if Moses has said, because we don't have everything that took place. I wonder if Moses had said to somebody, and maybe word got out. I don't know, maybe they're Baptist and, they just spread gossip. But maybe Moses went down and was like, I don't know, man, God's pretty upset. He said he's going to do away with you all, make a nation out of me. I don't know how if you all are okay with that or not. But I'm going to go up and I'm going to try to make an atonement for your sin. But I don't know, maybe Moses went down and said that. And they're probably like, so if he can kill whole armies with a river or a sea, what can he do with us? He's already plagued them. He's already had Israelites kill other Israelites because of what took place. God is the all authority here, and it's not looking too good for these people. And he says that all the people rose up and stood every man in his tent door. So now all the tents are set up, and all the men stand in front of their tent door, and they're watching Moses walk by, and they're watching Moses walk to the tent. And this is so amazing what happens at his tent door, and looked after Moses until he was gone into the tabernacle. Thank God it don't stop there. And it came to pass as Moses entered into the tabernacle, the cloudy pillar descended, the representation of God, the pillar of a cloud by day, comes down, stands in front of the door, and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and the Lord talked with Moses. Watch how he talks to him. And all the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the tabernacle door. All the people rose up and worshiped, every man in his own tent door. It's almost like they're all getting the same picture. It's almost like, except they don't have the pillory cloud that's standing in front of their door, but they are worshiping God because they know that God has not left them. God is over there talking with Moses, and look at what it says in verse number 11. And the Lord spake unto Moses face to face. That does not mean that they were face to face, because you got to read on. If any man ever saw God's face, he'd be dead. Now, there's coming a day when we're going to see his face. According to Revelation 22. We'll be able to look on his face. But at this point, no man has seen God face to face. As a man speaketh unto his friend. Ain't that is so different than conversations that we have with God today. Now, I believe that there ought to be a formal way that we approach God. There ought to be. We shouldn't come to God just willy-nilly. Even the disciples said, will you teach us how to pray? And he laid out, and that is not the Lord's Prayer, we know that. He laid out a model prayer. Don't recite these words, but look at this prayer and break it down, and you put your words, your heart to it. But this is essentially what you need to ask for. I'll be honest with you, most of us don't pray for food. We may pray over our food, but we don't ask for daily bread. Why? Because we got freezers, right? And if everything is still cold in the freezer, if a freezer lasted you 10 years, how many times would you thank God for it? And then on 10-year day one of 11 years, it broke down. Oh, you'd be complaining, wouldn't you? But all that 10 years prior, we wouldn't be thankful for none of that. I heard a preacher say one time, he said, come out, and he said, see that you got one flat tire? He said, hey, think about it this way. You still got 3 inflated. That's true, but that's not the way that we look at it. Why? Because we can't see the other 3. All we can see is the flat one, right? And we're upset. He said, it never crosses our mind to thank God for all the times that it wasn't flat. That's true. And let me tell you something. There's nothing worse than a flat tire. Because what happens? That always follows a shoestring break. Joe, what'd you just say? That's right. There's obviously still a little air left in there. It's like, huh? What? Huh? Right. Huh? Yeah, that's aggravating too. I'll tell you what, it's been a week. But, I just really wonder, when we talk to God, do we talk to Him like we're talking to other people? What some of the conversations that we'll have, we'll say, man, I sure am thankful for this weather. We ought to tell God that, right? God, I sure am thankful for the weather that you've given us. We needed some rain, we got it. My tomato plants are like, yes. And that in turn, yes. That's me, yeah. I'm excited. But, when it's dry for 3 months, what are we doing? God, we need rain. Well, I give you some 3 months ago. Yeah, but I didn't have a bucket at the bottom of my, gutters to catch the rain. And He says, I will take care of all your needs. God takes care of all our needs, don't He? He don't take care of all of our wants, but He takes care of our needs. And I'm thankful for that. So how do we talk to Him? Well, Moses and him were talking, and it says face to face, but that's literally just a mode of expression. It's like God was speaking openly with Moses, I guess would be the best way. Is your arm up to say something, or? Okay, all right. I didn't know. I just want. Oh, goodness. And he turned again into the camp, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. Now, so Joshua's there. And here's the thing. I bet Joshua heard everything that was being said. And here's why I say that. Because later on, when you get to the book of Joshua, guess what happens? God's like, just as I was with Moses. Joshua, you know that I was with Moses. Right, here's an instance. Joshua, you know, and in those times that you knew that I was dealing with Moses, just as I was Moses, I will be with thee. And he restored, what's he giving? He gives him strength and confidence. He said, be of a good courage. And I can't remember the whole text, but it's just encouraging to know that God's like, Moses he's passed. Now it's you. I've been, the discipleship's been going on. And sometimes I think that we may just forget that we're being discipled. And we'll watch people and we'll see how things are handled. Our children do it. Children do it all the time, because here's what happens whenever they get older and they get kids. What you said a long time ago makes a whole lot of sense. and they didn't even realize it, but they were being discipled the entire time. Now, it could be bad discipleship. It could be good discipleship. But what's their responsibility? Their responsibility is to pick through it and say, this is what worked and this did not work. Right? So, anybody got anything to there? All right, verse 12. And Moses said unto the Lord, see, thou sayest unto me, bring up this people, and thou hast not let me know whom thou wilt send with me. So, God, you told me that you were going to send an angel with me. I don't even know who that is. Here's who I do know. I do know you, and I trust you, and I've got all my stock in you. Now, if that's what you want me to do, you want me to go with this angel. Here's the thing: I'm not okay with it. That's essentially what he's saying. I'm not okay with this. Why are you not okay with it? Because God, I want you. You ever had this talk with God? I'm not okay with some, I'll say it just kind of hinting around to what Moses may be implying. I'm not going with some two-bit nobody I don't know. I'm going with the person that has been faithful to us. We are not the angels' people, we're your people. And I don't trust this guy. I trust you. That's who I want to go with. I want you. And he says, see, thou sayest unto me, bring up this people, and thou hast not let me know whom thou wilt send with me. Yet thou hast said, I know thee by name, and thou hast also found grace in my sight. Now therefore I pray thee, if I have found grace in thy sight, shew me now thy way, that I may know thee, that I may find grace in thy sight, and consider that this nation is thy people. God, I'll tell you this, I wasn't talking to an angel at the burning bush. I was talking to you. An angel didn't split those waters. I didn't split those waters. You split those waters. I trust you. That's who I want to, we are your people. Verse 14, he said, my presence shall go with thee. Moses, you passed. In sum total, Moses, you passed. You guys just weren't asking me for stuff. You guys want me to be a part of this right now. Now, there's times that they're not going to want God to be a part of it. But he says, I'll go with you, and I will give thee rest. And he said unto him, if thy presence go not with me, carry us not offense. If you're not going to go, we're not going. Well, I'm not going. So just know that. God, if you're not where he leads me, I will follow. If he's not leading, we're not moving, is what Moses is saying. For wherein, verse 16, for wherein shall it be known here that I and thy people have found grace in thy sight? Is it not in that thou goest with us? So shall we be separated, and I and thy people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth. God, here's the thing. In a nutshell, this is what Moses is saying. He said that here's what separates us, the Israelites, from all the other people in the world. We have you. And they don't. So if we don't have you, we are just like them. And we are not just like them. Why? Because we're separate. We are your people. They have their false gods, and we have the true and living God. So we are separated people. That goes the same for, say, born-again believers today. If we don't have God, we're just like everybody else. And you know, that's the thing about his presence is we should want his presence. We should want his presence. We should not just want presence from him. And he says, verse 17, the Lord said unto Moses, I will do this thing also that thou hast spoken, for thou hast found grace in my sight, and I know thee by name. Now, why did God do this? Because God is giving him grace and giving him mercy. He says, you know, you guys aren't worthy of this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it for you. Why? Because that's who I am. That's who I am. Not because you've changed my mind. Not because you bartered with me. Can't barter with God. God is not the guy at the flea market. It's like, hey, I got 25 on that hatchet. Well, I'll give you $18.50. Okay, I'll take it. Hey, that's not God. You're not dealing with God that way. God says, I just do these things. Hey, because I'm the only one that can. And I want to. I want to. You remember that song, I Want You to Want Me? Remember that? That's God. I want you to want me. I do. I want you to want me. Not the song. I don't know what that song even implies, but I'm saying just the title of that song, that's God. God wants you to want him, to be in your life. Go to Psalm 42 and verse 1. Psalm 42 and verse number 1. Well, if I can get to Psalm 42, we'd be doing great. Psalm 42 and verse 1. As the hart, H-A-R-T, so as the deer panteth after the water brooks, so panteth my soul after thee, O God. Psalmist wanted him. Right? David wanted him in Psalm 23. That great poetic prayer, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Why? Because I have the Lord. right? And he goes on to say in that, he says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? Because thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So isn't that amazing? He says, I'm not going to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. That's not a good place, guys and girls. That's not, I mean, we don't want to live in that valley, do we? David said, I don't care. He said, I'll walk right through it. Why? Because I got the Lord. And that's the only thing I need. I don't need stuff. I don't need his presence. I need his presence to go with me. That's it. Go to Luke in chapter number 24. Had some people, a couple people. I've heard that this could have been a man and a woman. I'm not real for sure. On the Emmaus Road. And Jesus is walking with them. They don't know it's Jesus. Yet their heart burned within them. They said the whole time our heart burned. They needed some Pepsid AC or something. And they were walking with Jesus, didn't know it. And Jesus starts expounding the scriptures all the way from Moses, all the way through, right? All the way through. Goes through and here's what they say. Look at verse number 28. And they drew nigh unto the village whither they went, and Jesus, made as though he would have gone further. He was going to go on. He's going to go on. He's like, okay, I'm departing. I'm going to keep going. Watch this, verse 29. But they constrained him, saying, abide with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is far spent. And he went in and tarried with them. Let me say this. People will go home, and they're okay with the Lord just keep on going down the road. Leave church. Leave church. And within 45 minutes, people will be home and the Lord's done passed their house up. You say, why? They didn't invite him in. You know, in Revelation chapter 3, he stands at the door and knocks. And here's the thing, he's speaking too. He said, if any man hear my voice, he didn't say if any man hears my knock. He says, if any man hears my voice and will let me in, I will sup with them and them with me. He once invited in. Is he standing at a locked door? No, I don't think so. He's standing at a shut door. And he wants to know, can I come in? Is it okay? I want to be a part of this. I want to fellowship with you. That's the whole importance of prayer, is it's a time. That's why he says to get in a prayer closet so it's just you and him. So you can talk face to face, you know, like friends, like Moses did with him. Go to John chapter number 1. John the Baptist's disciples wanted to check out where he was at. Look at verse number 35. And again, the next day after John stood and two of his disciples, looking upon Jesus as he walked, he said, behold the Lamb of God. And the two disciples heard him speak, and they followed Jesus. Then Jesus turned and saw them following, and saying unto them, What seek ye? They said unto him, Rabbi, which is to say, being interpreted, Master, where dwellest thou? Where are you staying at? Then Jesus turned, verse 39, he saith unto them, come and see. You know what he didn't do? He didn't say, hey, come on, follow me. Well, where are we going? Well, you're going to come see where I dwell at. He didn't do that. He's just walking, and they say, we'd like to spend some time with him. Where do you dwell at? Well, come on, come and see. That's what God wants. That's what he's always wanted. That's what he's always wanted. Even before the fall of man, God wanted fellowship with man. He wanted fellowship with his creation. He wanted communion. He wanted to talk. Sit down, have a meal with you. You say, God would have had a meal with you? Absolutely. Jesus was doing it with his disciples. He said, look, I got some fish and honeycomb. Sit down. You guys weren't catching anything, so I don't know if that was I don't know, I think the Lord's got a sense of humor, and I really feel like he was probably jabbing them. Oh, you guys are professionals. What happened, huh? Mr. FLWs, and you guys had the big bass boats, and I just tell the fish to jump out of the water and come up in a frying pan. I got that much authority over them. But, the whole thing has been throughout the scriptures as God has wanted us. Here's the thing. God first loved us, right? Now, but that does not mean that God always makes the first move. There is a time when God says, I want you to make the first move. And here's what I truly believe about Exodus 33. God's saying, I'm not going. I'm not going with you. Now, you have a move to make. You have a move to make. He has told you he's not going. Now, would he have really not went? I don't know. I know he never leaves us, forsakes us, but I have a feeling that God would have said, you know what, I'm not going to come up in the midst of them, but I'll watch from afar off. I'll keep my distance. It's like this. Have you ever just felt like you haven't felt God's presence in a long time? You ever feel like that? It's like, man, I just don't know if I felt God. But there's times when you felt the presence of God so strong that you couldn't even deal with it when it was going on. I've been there. It's like you just get flooded with just emotion. And it's like, wow. And you can't handle it. That's why Moses couldn't look on his face. Because God is so mighty and so pure and so holy, we can't look on his face. We can't. But God, through his grace and his mercy, go back to Exodus 33. He says, you know what, Moses? I won't let you look at my face, but I will show you my glory because you asked. It says in verse number, where did we get to? 20. No, did we? No, let's start at 18. And he said, I beseech thee, shew me thy glory. So I am earnestly pleading. There's times in the Bible when men want more, when women want more out of God. This is a time when Moses is like, I think was it Caleb that said, give me this mountain? Was that Caleb that said that? He wanted more from God. This is the time when Moses is like, I want more from God. I want more from God. And look at what it says. Here's the thing. You have not because you ask not. Right? So he says in verse 19, and he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee. I'll tell you what, Moses, here's what I'll do. Oh, buddy, oh, pal, because you asked. Here's what I will do. I'm not going to give you what you asked for. So just first and foremost, because you think you can handle that when you cannot handle that. You ever thought you could handle something? I love that when people say, God will never give us more than what we can handle. Well, what in the world will we ever need him for? Right? Hey, God never put so much on us that we couldn't handle ourselves. Well, aren't we God then? No. Absolutely not. God puts you through things that you never thought. How could anybody get the favor to go to Afghanistan and preach a Christian religion and amongst a bunch of Muslims that want to decapitate the Christian because they look at them as infidels? Let me tell you something. I can't do that on my own. So he says, verse 19, he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee. So I will pass before you, all of me. Watch this. And I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee, because that's the name in which I proclaim. And will be gracious to whom I will be gracious. And will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. Moses said, the only reason why I'm going to do this is not because you asked me. It's because you want more. You want more. And I'm going to give you the grace and I'm going to give you the mercy to show you more of me. Verse 20, and he said, thou canst not see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. Okay. Well, at least he told him that, right? That's good to know. Verse 21, the Lord said, behold, there's a place by me, and thou shalt stand upon a rock. And it shall come to pass, while my glory passeth by, that I will put thee in a cleft of a rock, and will cover thee with my hand while I pass by. Isn't that amazing imagery? Could you imagine, just imagine being Moses and God puts you in the what it says cleft of the rock, really it's essentially a cave. Puts you in a cave And I have a strange suspicion, I'm just going to be honest with you, I have a strange suspicion that this is the same exact cave that Elijah ended up in. I don't know, because it's the same place. And a lot of the same things happen. But God puts him in this little cave, this little cutout, the cliff of the rock, puts him in there, and then covers his face with his hand. And then as he walks by, he's like, yeah, I'll take my hand off now. You can look at my back. You can see my back. You can see my back parts. Look at verse number 23. And I will take away mine hand, and thou shalt see my back parts, but my face shall not be seen. Listen, I don't know about you, but Moses asked, I want your glory. I want to see everything. Okay, well, Moses, you can't. You can't handle that, okay? So here's what I'll do. I'll give you a snippet. I'll give you a snippet. I'll give you what you can handle. Because if you got more, if you got what you're asking for, let me tell you something, bucko, you'd be dead. So I will give you what you can handle in this sense. And so he does. Isn't that amazing? Have you ever asked for that? Have you ever asked God for more? I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see anything. God, can you give me more of you? I'm not stuff. Let's get the context right. Not more things, not more, blessings in that instance. Don't, I'm not asking you to, we've not had rain in 6 hours. I'm not asking you for rain. I'm not asking you for a car. I'm not asking you for that. What I am asking you for is more of your presence. That's what I want. And I think that is something that we don't ask for. How dare we take the Lord's Supper in vain? I think every time that we meet together, we ought to ask God, please meet with us. We need you. Here's the thing. We don't always need you to save somebody. We just want you here. Right? We'd love to see people get saved, but we don't always need to baptize people, but we just want you here. And listen, if he comes here, who knows what will happen? Right? We ain't got a clue. God will do whatever God wants to do that day, anytime. But anybody got anything?